Alors, bonsoir tout le monde.
Bonsoir.
Ah, c'est bon d'entendre la langue de Molière. Et la langue de René Lévesque, n'est-ce pas? Merci d'être venu. Thank you very much for coming. We're not here for a celebration, of course, because many of us have been affected in the Manchester area with Comcast removing the channel CKSH from our television. And that does separate a lot of you and a lot of other people in the community from the opportunity to connect not only with the French language, but with the French language from Quebec. There are other French options available on Comcast that you can take advantage of, including TV5, TV5, but it costs extra money, and beyond that, it's the culture of France.
Yes.
And we want to connect with our culture of Canada. I am not from Comcast. I'm John Toussignac. I'm the executive director of the Franco-American Center. And while we can't resolve tonight the challenges of having CKSH taken off the air, what we're going to try to do is to provide you with some options online to access French programming from Canada, specifically from Quebec. We're doing this with the assistance of some fantastic St. Anselm College students, Matt, Tony, Anthony, Christian. They may not speak French fluently, but they speak technology, and that's what we need this evening. So thank you very much for giving your time this evening. We also have with us someone who does speak French and technology to some degree, Natalie Hurdy, the office manager of the Franco-American Center. And most importantly, our presenter this evening, who speaks French and speaks technology and is going to help give some ideas about what we can do. And what we'll do is have a short presentation that will go over a number of different options that are available to you, and then through the help of our volunteers, we'll work with you individually. So if there's a particular type of programming that you find that you're interested in, we can help set it up on your mobile devices and set up bookmarks so that you can quickly go back to it when you get home. So you won't all call me up tonight at 11 o'clock at night. Not that I didn't love speaking with many of you, but you'll prefer it if you don't have to, I'm sure. So without further ado, I'm very happy to welcome past president of the Franco-American Center and technologiste extraordinaire, Joe Terry.
Merci, Jean. Il a déjà dit beaucoup dont j'ai l'intention, mais bonsoir tout le monde, bienvenue. I'm not going to speak a whole lot of French up front out of courtesy to Manchester Public TV who's recording and those who don't. But when we're all done, if you speak slowly with me, I'll probably be able to keep up. I haven't had a whole lot of practice in recent years, and I promise in return, as we talk about technology, I'll speak slowly with you. So as John was saying, this is a coping mechanism, what we're doing tonight, right? We lost the station that we actually wanted. We had the station for decades, I think. This station has been, something in our homes. I remember being, younger before I, went off to learn, French in immersion. It was just sort of a cute thing. I scrolled past and then I came back and I realized, well, this is quite the resource to have available. I didn't expect it. I thought I'd given that up when I moved back from Canada. So it's kind of hard to have lost that. But for so many of us, the cable is actually already kind of the past. Sorry. And it's actually been the better part of a decade since I, as they call it, cut the cord, and I've been watching, all of my entertainment, through a streaming box at home. And I'm sure this is familiar to some of the college kids in the crowd, like, why pay for a Comcast bill when you can just pay for the Fidium fiber instead, or just let the college do it for you. And so there's a lot of resources that are out there, but unfortunately it is not, as you probably have already discovered, not as easy as just like Google Radio Canada, pick it up and watch, because so many things are actually not available. They're really strict about making sure that what they show in Canada benefits Canada, and apparently they're not terribly interested in spreading the culture south of the border, which kind of hurts. But it's not everything. This is going to be a fairly short presentation, maybe 10 minutes. It's not very structured. Walk through so you can see what resources we have up on. This is a page on the Franco-American Center website. We're going to link to it off of the menu and the homepage shortly, so you'll be able to find it again.
It'll be up by tomorrow.
And we're also very happy to working with you with your devices to leave a bookmark on them so that you can get back to it. The purpose of the presentation, from my point of view, isn't to teach you one and done. Like, we're going to do this, one, you'll be satisfied, see everything you've ever wanted to see ever again, and two, remember it perfectly. I'm hoping to give you a sense of deja vu when you go and try and do this again, so it seems familiar. And you can use this site, this page, to kind of refresh your memory. There'll be recordings of this presentation taken in a few different ways to also help jog your memory in the future. So this is just a taste. Afterwards, the bulk of the evening really is about the interactive stuff, where myself, Natalie, John, and our wonderful college students can work with you to bookmark these sites in particular, or answers questions you may have about finding other resources that are out there. I want to prepare you for so many things. Unfortunately, like I said, there are just not options sometimes. Like Radio Canada, there's a few shows, I'm spacing it. There was a great cultural show for a long time there, based off of, it's the same name as the movie, where the doctor goes into a small island village, and anyone know the movie I'm talking about?
Oui. La Grande Séduction.
La Grande Séduction. There's a cultural show called Le Petit Séduction, where they go town to town to town in Quebec. That's one that I was specifically hunting for because it's a great way to hear the accents, hear the local vocabulary, see what's going on. And unfortunately, it's not very easy to stream that online. Though there is a trick I'll share at the end. And for those of you who are savvy about the particular answer I have to it, I'm happy to work with you on it, or at least give you some tips on how to get there yourself. So without more ado, let's try and dive into some of this. So what I don't know if this is just the way that my brain works. The number one resources I wanted to share out of the gate was news, because that happens. It's new stuff every day. It's vocabulary, and that's what makes me personally feel really connected back up to Canada, because I get to kind of feel what they're feeling and hear what's going on. And frankly, it's also really interesting to hear. You can't avoid a U.S. perspective or U.S. news permeating the world, and hearing an international perspective is really interesting. So a few of the options that are out there, and like I said, we can totally share these, get these links out to you. There we are. Let me go back. So I have these three particular sources I want to share. Le Téléjournal Midi. This is, as the name suggests, the midday news. It's recorded in Montreal every day at noon. You can actually catch it online at 12:30. As soon as it's done recording, you go to this site, and you can watch it immediately. And you can see Jeudi 2 Novembre, that's today, and just to prove it, let's pull it up, make sure that it actually plays and you can actually hear it and everything for reals. Okay, the sound is on my laptop. So that's one resource that's available, and where's my back button go? And you can see, if you're curious of something that happened in the past, they actually maintain their archive into the distant past. So if there's a particular event that happened a few weeks ago that you missed, that you want to hear what they said about it, particularly a Canadian story, of course, right? This would be a good way to go about it. Now, what I wanted to hunt down specifically for us tonight was watching a TV station out of Sherbrooke, could we get some of that local news because we've kind of become attached to the community, right? It's Quebec prides itself on how it's a whole bunch of identities within a very strong provincial, dare I say, national identity. And so I pulled out Téléjournal Estrie. The evening news, as you find on the Radio Canada site, is regional. So there's actually a whole bunch of options there. You can watch it in Montreal. Personally, when I lived briefly in Quebec, I lived in Quebec. So that's the one I would tend to prefer to watch myself. But just as with the midday news, this one records in the evening every night. The midday one, by the way, is only weekdays. This one's every day, weekends and weekdays. They just change who the animatrice is. So it records every day at 6. You can catch it at 6:30 as a recording. And yeah, there's not much more to say to it. This is just a way to keep in touch and with the actual region. I linked on this site that you can find, the bookmark to, these 4. But if you poke around, they go across Canada because Radio Canada is actually a federal thing for them, right? It just happens to be very dominantly focused on Quebec. So you got Ottawa Gatineau, and I pulled out Acadia specifically there because with a last name like Thériault, I'd better my family will not be happy with me if I forget that. So far, pretty simple. I'm not saying anything revolutionary, but any questions going at this point? I don't anticipate any, but I don't want to leave anyone behind either. Okay. Now, if you're the sort, and there's no small number of us, who likes to just kind of leave the news on running, cable news style, RDI is your go-to there. That runs all day long. It actually broadcasts those 2 téléjournal shows, and you can catch it live that way. So if you go into that link that I passed, which brings you to Ici RDI, and then you have to click this little En Direct button. And then you get this little preview of thumbnails across the top where they're like, we want you to see all our stuff. Not all, like I said before, not all of them will work for us down here in Les États, but this one does. So we can click into there. And then, of course, it wouldn't be a demonstration if it worked every time. But in all of this is the first time that clicking that naturally did not load a television program running live at the moment. It's like I said, if you tune in at noon, you'll actually catch Téléjournal Midi live there, and they have all manner of programs running throughout the day, except apparently right now. All right, so that's the news portion, and that does a lot, to keep us in touch with the goings on and the kind of dry day to day, and a little bit of the cultural stuff that they choose to present. But I know one of the other things that we heard a lot about once the news that CKSH had been taken off of Comcast that people were going to miss was Mass. I hadn't noticed that it was there personally myself, but apparently it was, and that's, I can imagine, a very important part, especially as it's been leaving parishes for a long time now. I remember down in Nashua there was French masses in several, and there's none now anymore. I think the last one in Manchester may have even gone. I'm not sure. Good, that's right. St. Anthony's does. So I went out of wanted to make sure we pulled in something for that, and actually, again, making Comcast did have a helpful list of links, but all of these seem to be focused in France, and their version of the language is lovely, but it's not what we're interested in. L'Oratoire de Saint-Joseph in Montreal actually maintains a very active YouTube channel, so you can get it in the YouTube app, subscribe to it. You can link to it here. And every day, not Sundays, every day, that is not the link that I thought that it was. All right. There. All right, here we are. So here we are. Every day they have a mass that you can watch live on YouTube when it broadcasts, and also in case you want to catch like a feast day or other best of, they keep it just like we were seeing the other ones, like an archive to infinity. So if you come in and choose to use this particular resource to virtually attend Mass, I have one thing to warn you about. You'll notice a lot of them, they are very, we'll say, proactive in pre-listing Masses because they know when every day is coming. So you'll see a lot that say Avenir. If you click in on one of those to watch it, you might be waiting for a very long time. So you have to be careful to make sure that you're picking the day that you're actually interested in. And if you go in to one that's about to come up, let's imagine it's Friday. If you sit here and watch this, and this isn't like, it's actually more like 3 minutes. If you wait, it'll actually automatically start. So if you get in early on one of these, it's okay. So you can just sit there, and I tested it, just like the other one that didn't work. I promise, I did test. If you sit there and wait, it turns to 0, and then it turns live, and then you see the camera pointed right inside, and you can see them process out and start the Mass. And it's a lovely space, as you can see. So it's a nice Mass. Anyone who's actually been to l'Oratoire? Yeah. So you. I've walked by it. All right. Going back to. Like I said, this wasn't going to be a terribly long presentation because it's going to be trying to get everyone who brought a device or a particular question get you going. But I had like one other. These were like news, Mass. What I want to like leave you with something where you can. For me, the thing that pulls me in the most is like a sitcom or some kind of episodic thing, because then, if I'm just watching the news, I can. It's still the case that like if I'm trying to immerse myself in French all day long, I will end up with the bilingual headache. Okay, we know. So I need that extra incentive, and like a story that like if I'm watching it dubbed in English, I'm missing something. That's the thing that pulls me in. So hunting around for options there, it turns out Netflix of all services, of all things, is actually really good for this. If you go into your Netflix account, please no one steal mine. They've really clamped down on that. It turns out, up in the top here, hiding in the header all along, is this Browse by Languages button. And as soon as you go there, you get presented with these 3 boxes. The one that we care about tonight, I would say most of the time, is we want to look for something where the original language is not English, but French or French Canadian. They actually specify. So we can say, give me all the original French Canadian language, films in your library. In the case of French Canadian, it's not so many, but bon cop, bad cop, all right. But the overall French, which I think I wouldn't be surprised if there's a categorization error there where they're just like, yeah, we're just going to call that French. This runs on for quite a while. And it's a constantly changing library, as Netflix does. They take away the things that you love, and they hope to keep you by giving you new things that they think you'll love. And so it is here. So this is, I imagine many of us have Netflix accounts, or at least we siphon off the Netflix accounts of those we love. So this is right here as a resource that you can take advantage of. There's a whole bunch of other things out there. I said I was going to leave you with a tip for those things, like when you see we can't stream to your location. Actually, let me give you an example of that. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Télé-Québec. Far be it to let Quebec allow the federal government of Canada to have a monopoly on any government service. They have to make sure that they have theirs. And so it is with this Radio-Canada and there's Télé-Québec. So that's the province's TV network. Sadly, they are very strict. Anytime you watch anything, I have not tested this, but I feel very confident that we're just going to get an error here. And what the error is, using my tech site, I looked under the hood. It's an error that says you are just not in the right location. And the trick I wanted to share is, I don't know if you've heard of, seen ads for, or you have a piece of software on your computer like Symantec or McAfee that comes with a piece of software called a VPN can be of help here. I don't want to dig too far into it, but if that's of interest to you, we can chat. So you know, so I don't just leave it in a complete air of mystique. What it is, it's a piece of software you run on your computer and it connects you to somewhere else and allows you to basically let your computer pretend that it's there. And you can let me connect to Quebec, and then it's as if you have plugged in, it's as if you're Branche in Sherbrooke, and so that's one way to get around these things. There's a whole bunch out there. The one I use is called Proton VPN, but there's millions. NordVPN is one I see advertised all the time that promises it works with streaming. So that's just a tip. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on that because it can get a little hairy. But yes, you in the back, the lovely woman.
Oh, thank you. Actually, there was a question about cookies that somebody asked. I thought if they asked me, I certainly don't have your breadth of knowledge. Maybe you could simply explain what a cookie is.
Oh, sure.
So they can understand it's not necessarily something to be afraid of.
Sure. What a cookie is, it's the way that the computers that serve us, the websites we visit work, they have perpetual amnesia. They have no idea who you are. So every time you show up, it's like they're having a brand new conversation. A cookie is basically just a "hi, my name is" tag, so they can remember you. So you show up and they're like, "Joe, right? Okay, thanks for that. Put this on." Thunk. And then when you show back up, you have that tag on. It's like, right, we've talked. And that's what a cookie is. So whenever you've logged into a site, you say like log into Google or Comcast for your email, every time you go, it has to try and figure out who you are again. A cookie is just the name that we've given in the computer industry to that, that cute little thing, the cute little name we've given to that name tag. That's all it is. I think it was a cutesy early name. I think it's literally like, here, we're going to give the user something. Oh, what does everyone want? They want a cookie. Yes, we'll call it a cookie. Give them a cookie. I apologize for my people, but tech people like to name things funny things. Before I just have myself, Natalie and John, and everyone else, work with you one-on-one, is there any questions about what I've shown, or anything else that you think that everyone would benefit from hearing? I'm here for it. So, any questions? Yes.
If you go to NordVPN,
Yep.
does cable Xfinity can remove? It's fair and legal. That's something I want to know. Or any other, because there's a lot of people talking about boxes that you can add from Canada and that you can install. And you're going to get all your French channel if you want to, This is another thing that's been going around, but it's the VPN. I saw it, the commercial's been on TV for quite a while.
Right.
Yeah, so if you get that, can you still keep your computer, your landline phones, Xfinity Mobile, and your TV, that's those.
So, the question, right where you're asking what a VPN is. A VPN is just an app. It goes in, so it doesn't require another piece of hardware in your house, or it doesn't require you to get rid of anything either. So it just installs on your phone. I have one on my phone, on your laptop, your iPad, and it's just it does not require you. In fact, you don't have to give up Comcast or Xfinity. It just connects you to another machine over there, and it's just sort of like it's a game of telephone that you get to play with someone, in this case, across the border. Does that answer that part of the question for you?
The thing is how do you install it on the phone? Or
It installs like any other app. So you have to pay for it because it's, even if it's not, because it's a service that someone's like, they have to keep a machine on that you can connect to, so they want money for that. Fair enough. But like it's, if you have an iPhone, it's in the App Store. If you have an Android phone, it's in Google Play. And I'm sure on your laptop, I don't use Windows, but I'm sure it's in the Microsoft Store as well. But you can also go to, whomever's website and install it. Make sure you use a name that sounds right. You can, downloading and installing random things from the internet can be dangerous. But like Nord, Proton, Symantec, McAfee, these are names that I would say that you can trust.
We can probably add those as safe suggestions perhaps to our website. Is that something?
We could probably do that. To the boxes, I don't know exactly what the ads are, but I've heard of things in the past where people will basically sell you a box and they've preloaded it with a whole bunch of copies of shows and movies, and those are technically not legal because those are actually copyrighted materials that get sent to you. And then they can set it up and try to connect you to different things, but from what I'm understanding, like just if you're buying something like that that includes aspects that are unlawful, you can probably count on the rest of it isn't going to be very good either. It's just going to be flaky, right? And that's I would steer clear of things like that. And it's tough, right? Because when something like this happens, the rug gets pulled out from under us. That's when we're most tempted to do something a little hasty. But that's not one I would go with.
About those, they call that stick. You buy a stick.
Oh, right, like the Fire Stick or something like that. I use something similar at home. When I said I cut the cord and I don't use cable, I use something similar. My preferred one personally is Roku, but Apple TV's out there too. They don't really seem to answer the problem that we're looking to solve by and large. If you try and, because they have channels on it, just like a cable channel, a cable service, and you pick them and you add them or you install them, and from my experience, their international pickings are quite slim. Every time I try to get, France 24, it's the English version. That's not what I'm doing this for, and TV5 may be available, but it's for pay too, and if I'm gonna pay for it, you might as well get it on a Comcast remote. It's easier that way. The big resource that you can do that's a good way to watch YouTube on the big screen. And there is as many YouTube channels out there as there are young French Canadians. Basically. So there's a whole bunch of options. You just have to be willing to listen to what a young French Canadian wants to say. So, any questions? Good. If
I have a question.
please.
Can you connect your iPad to your TV to watch it on TV?
It's possible. If you have some kind of a smart TV or one of these sticks, Roku, Google has one called Chromecast, and Apple makes all of these very easy. And you have to pay for it, but man, it's easy. And then you can do what's called casting. So you can on my phone, it's I think it's called a Smart View is the choice on my Samsung. On an Apple one, it just shows up magically in the top, like, oh, I want to broadcast on my TV. So yeah, you can mirror or cast your screen to your TV so that you can have that big screen experience, with your device over here, and also the sound comes through at the same time, so you're not listening to it through the tinny little speaker next to you. It's possible. It's AirPlay is what Apple calls it. Of course. I know this is very organic. Anything? Well. It is very. There's right. I mean, like that's what cable. It's not gone because it doesn't do. What it does is still provide something useful. You page up to the channel you want, and that's easy. What makes this confusing, right, is it's like every option possible, and which one's good, and how do you get there, and how do you use it this time? Everything's a little different. I sympathize.
Maybe you can just let them know the video that will be up and coming in the next couple of weeks, that might ease your worries a little bit of what you did.
Right. Yeah. So it's sort of I alluded to it at the top. So a more streamlined version of this presentation, I recorded one. I said that sentence backwards. I recorded a more streamlined version of this presentation over the weekend, and a couple of very talented young men are editing it right now so that it's, my work is actually presentable. I am not a recording artist. And we're going to have that up on the site. So it's basically, if you're like, what did he say later on about something that I brought up tonight, there'll be a video that goes through exactly the same things, minus that confusing VPN bit at the end, because I didn't want to leave that. I felt like that would require questions to be asked, and I didn't want to just leave that up on the net. So, of course, yes.
You think we be able one day be able the lesson like l'épicerie and archive, la facture, everything we learn now is not on here.
They show the, we want to see something
But
different.
once a week, usually we listen them. They talk about like in l'épicerie, they talk about every people, how you can eat, how you can.
Which show was that?
L'épicerie.
L'épicerie. Yes, that was one of the ones I specifically looked into. And that was not.
Something like that. I like that.
There's so. L'épicerie. It was one of the ones I had like a whole series of categories: cuisine, style de vie, and sport.
Our for food, they show us our different things, very interesting and very good. What is better they eat, our the cookbook for
And this would be, I think, when we get to when we're going one-on-one, we can after the presentation portion's over, we can maybe search around for some options. L'épicerie is just not able to be seen in the States online for some reason, which is unfortunate.
We don't have nothing.
Nothing, interesting anyway. Like Ricardo, he's cooking, not sport.
I know, right?
Sport. I like to cook and bake and everything,
Learn something different.
Yeah. And the best option I know of off the top of my head would be channels on YouTube. It's often in English, but I wanna promote our own Natalie Hurdy's channel on YouTube, Franco Foods. She does it predominantly in English, but there is French vocabulary, and it's food from Quebec, Haiti, and it's.
Encore fait de poutine, mais j'en en faire une un moment donné.
And you have a
Surtout une poutine
archive,
râpée.
that's
Et j'ai fait une
always
poutine à fruits.
something interesting to listen to. That's how people do cooking stuff. They archive how they do that and
We can. So let's when the presentation's done, let's try and see what we can find. Sit down with you and.
something, like Canadian program anyway.
Right.
And don't forget, in nursing home, the people, they miss, their show.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's not right, because Canadian people, they work in Manchester. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the way to say thank you. We cut everything and they, no. No, that's not maybe, but they are sad too.
I understand. Yeah, we feel that John didn't go into it too much, but he's been on the phone with Comcast to try and figure out how. Yeah.
There must be a way, why do they have 36 Spanish channels? And we have one French channel, we've been here since the 1960s. No, I'm not saying that.
Oh, I know.
I know I worked at the Association Canado-Americaine.
Oh.
Yeah, so the South Franco-Americain,
Yeah.
I know what it is. It was in the 60s though, but I worked there for 4 years. And, the French is very important. And
Not
now
to
all they
them.
have 36, and then they have Philippines, they have Dutch, they have Russia, they have 3 channels for Russia, and some other ones. And for us, that we,
They have Dutch even, huh?
Canada
Yeah.
is just like do everything with the United States, with North America. That's something that is very dear to us, and right in, I was brought up in Sherbrooke, Magog, that's my area, just like everybody else. So it's, the antenna is on Mount Offord and then Newport, Vermont, and to take away that channel, you know, that is so particular and so special for the French Canadian people. You know, to me, there is no excuse. We went there twice, and they cannot give us an answer. You know, I called in Sherbrooke, like she did, and he can't give us a reason why they took it out. You know?
They will not the package, we're paying for that.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tried to find Channel 5, $10 a month. It's from Europe, okay? There's nothing, you know. We get the world news that we, you know, we have those news about it. So
Yeah.
it's, I don't know how, you know. I asked my husband. I said, let's start a petition and bring it to Xfinity or I don't know what. But every night we feel that we have nothing on TV. We love sports, but not everybody likes sports, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sad.
Yeah. It's a little. Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, not from Comcast. I understand. It's like it's right there. How hard could it be? Is basically what it feels like, right?
They have example, 10 family, you know, they are watching the French station. No. Hey, come on. 10 family watching the TV. Hey,
So, did you want to say?
I like the variety shows, the singing shows. I mean, there's no way to access any of those.
Some of them maybe. I'll be honest. That's not one that I particularly looked into. So we can search for that. You know, when like the one-on-one portion, when I step down from the front of the room, like Star Academy or yeah.
on Saturday night, when that's a great show.
Can I just make a little suggestion? I know that, I'll go in front. So
Yes, please.
Not everybody needs to turn, and John is probably not gonna love me for this suggestion, but I'll put it on me.
Uh-oh.
So I try the best I can to maintain our website. There's probably gonna be a lot of shows that we, will not be able to find everything tonight, because I'm sure everybody has their own that they love, and we'll do the very best we can. What I will ask is if you email us, or specifically me, and I will make sure, I'll put it on the website, or I'll make sure you guys have it. If there's something specific you're looking for,
Yeah.
just email me and say, Nathalie, je veux cette émission-là, peux-tu m'aider? I'm not promising I'll be able to do it. I might not be able to find it, but I promise you I will do the best I can to help you. Unfortunately, that's about as best as we can do, because sadly we're not Comcast.
Yeah.
Because if we were, this would not be an issue.
Yeah.
We would have fixed it by now. So it's a Band-Aid, but it's something.
Yeah.
So as we said at the beginning of the evening, we're not going to be able to resolve the Comcast issue with this channel tonight. We're going to continue to try and work with Comcast to get them to reconsider their decision. But in the meantime, tonight, we're happy to help you out with your devices. Joe has mentioned the site, that this would be up on the site, and of course the site is FACNH.com, Franco-American Center, New Hampshire. So we welcome people to come and visit the site tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
You can visit it tonight, but you won't see this tonight.
I may or may
But-
not get it done.
So we'll be able to work with you individually now, and we will continue to try and work with Comcast. So
Yeah, and as we work together, let us know. If we can't find something, we'll take notes too. You don't have to necessarily just email Natalie when you get home. If we can take a note, we have paper up here, we have pens. So we can collect these things. And there was just like one sidebar I wanted to include, like a bright spot. I don't know. While we have devices, we've lost TV, but there's actually some really good resources for listening to live radio on the internet. So if that's interesting to anybody, let me know. The app I'm thinking of is TuneIn, and the site. You can listen, you can browse by location, and you can find specific radio stations all throughout the world. Very particularly, I know Quebec because that's how I stream radio. So that's another option that's out there. I wanted to put out there. But
So before we break down into our individual work here, just want to thank Manchester Community Television for carrying this evening. Thank our gentlemen from St. Anselm College that are going to be helping us out. And of course, Joe Terrio. Let's give him a hand.
thank you. All right.
Thank you.
So let's get up and flag any of us down, and we'll try and get you set up. All right. Merci beaucoup for being here. Sorry. My brain froze.